Every time you sit down to eat, you're making a decision that affects your brain, not just your weight, not just your blood sugar, but your memory, your clarity, your ability to think, focus, and stay yourself, year after year. What if I told you some of the most common foods on your plate may be quietly damaging your brain? Not in one big event, but slowly, silently, over months, even years. You won't feel it at first, but over time your thoughts get foggier, your words come slower, and your memories, the precious ones, begin to fade. And the worst part? These foods don't come with a warning label. They're in your kitchen, your grocery list, your habits. In today's video, we're diving deep into the 10 foods scientifically linked to brain aging and dementia, and why removing them might be the most important thing you do for your mind this year. We'll explain what they do, how they harm the brain, and what to eat instead, so you can take back control of your future, one meal at a time. Let's begin. Your brain is an incredible organ, but it's also delicate. It depends on steady blood flow, balanced hormones, and a constant supply of nutrients to function well. And just like the heart, liver, or kidneys, your brain responds to what you eat. Some foods nourish the brain, improving memory, focus, and mood. Others do the opposite, creating inflammation, raising blood sugar, and triggering silent damage over time. You see, dementia doesn't happen overnight. It's often the result of tiny injuries building up across decades, many of them caused or worsened by the modern diet. Highly processed foods, artificial additives, and unstable oils can disrupt how brain cells communicate. Too much sugar can spike insulin, which doesn't just affect your body, it affects your brain's ability to clean itself and form new memories. And when this cycle continues year after year, your brain slowly becomes inflamed, insulin-resistant, and starved of the nutrients it needs to stay sharp. Eventually, connections weaken, thoughts slow down, and the risk of cognitive decline begins to rise. The good news is you have the power to change this, not through fear, but through knowledge. Because once you know which foods harm the brain and why, you can start making better choices, one plate at a time. So now, let's uncover the 10 worst offenders, and more importantly, what to eat instead. Let's begin with one of the most dangerous brain offenders, and also one of the most common: refined sugar. Especially the kind found in processed foods, sugary snacks, sweetened drinks, and packaged baked goods. It's not just about gaining weight or spiking your blood sugar. Refined sugar harms your brain in deeper, slower, and more silent ways. When you eat sugar, especially without fiber or protein, it causes a rapid rise in blood glucose. Your body responds by releasing insulin, a hormone that helps move sugar out of your blood and into your cells. But when this happens too often, your cells stop responding to insulin. That's called insulin resistance. And it doesn't just affect your body, it affects your brain. Insulin resistance in the brain has now been linked to memory loss, poor concentration, brain fog, and even Alzheimer's disease. Too much sugar also feeds inflammation. It raises levels of harmful compounds like advanced glycation end products, which damage neurons and reduce brain plasticity, the ability to adapt and form new connections. Over time, this constant inflammation shrinks your hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for learning and memory. The worst part? You don't have to eat candy bars to be in danger. Sugar hides in many ordinary foods: breakfast cereals, yogurt, granola bars, ketchup, even bread. Foods labeled as low-fat or diet often contain even more added sugar to compensate for lost flavor. And because sugar is addictive, it creates a feedback loop. The more you eat, the more your brain craves it, and the more damage builds up. So what can you do instead? You don't need to cut out every sweet thing, just be mindful. Swap soda for herbal tea or sparkling water. Replace sugary snacks with nuts, berries, or a small piece of dark chocolate. Look for food labels with less than 5 grams of added sugar per serving. And most importantly, cook at home when you can. Real ingredients, real nourishment. Because protecting your memory doesn't start in a pharmacy, it starts in your kitchen. Next on the list is a dangerous fat that still hides in many foods, even though it's been banned in some places: trans fats, also known as partially hydrogenated oils. These artificial fats were created to extend shelf life. They're used in margarine, coffee creamers, baked goods, frozen pizzas, fried foods, and many packaged snacks. They make food cheaper to produce, but much more expensive for your brain. Trans fats don't just raise bad cholesterol, they also lower the good kind. That alone affects heart health. But what's even more alarming is how they affect the blood vessels in your brain. You see, your brain needs steady blood flow to work well. Every thought, every memory, every conversation depends on tiny capillaries delivering oxygen and nutrients. But trans fats damage those vessels. They cause inflammation, stiffening and narrowing of the arteries, reducing circulation where your brain needs it most. And poor circulation means less fuel for brain cells, leading to cognitive decline, memory problems, and slower processing speed. But that's not all. Trans fats also increase the production of free radicals, unstable molecules that attack healthy brain cells. And they interfere with the function of omega-3 fatty acids, the healthy fats your brain depends on for structure and communication. In fact, studies have shown that higher levels of trans fats in the blood are directly linked to smaller brain volume and a higher risk of dementia. So how do you protect yourself? First, read ingredient labels. If you see partially hydrogenated oil listed anywhere, don't buy it, even if it says 0G trans fat on the front. Laws allow companies to round down if there's less than 0.5 grams per serving, but small amounts add up fast. Second, avoid ultra-processed foods and fried fast food. Instead, cook with healthy fats like olive oil, avocado oil, or grass-fed butter. Snack on whole foods like nuts, seeds, or roasted chickpeas. And if you want a treat, bake it yourself with real ingredients, not industrial ones. Your brain was built for real food, not fake fat. And every swap you make is a step toward clearer thinking, better memory, and longer independence. They don't taste sweet, but they act like sugar in the body. We're talking about refined carbohydrates, foods made from white flour like white bread, pasta, crackers, pancakes, and many baked goods. They're soft, they're convenient, they're everywhere, but when it comes to brain health, they carry serious risks. Let's break it down. Refined carbs are stripped of their fiber, protein, and healthy fats. What's left is starch, a simple carbohydrate that turns quickly into glucose in the bloodstream. That spike in glucose raises insulin, just like sugar does. And as we've already seen, chronic insulin spikes can lead to insulin resistance. Not just in the body, but in the brain. Over time, this weakens memory, slows down thinking, and increases the risk of cognitive decline. But that's not the only problem. Refined carbs also feed inflammation. They trigger a rise in inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein and interleukin-6, both linked to Alzheimer's disease. And since these foods digest quickly, they cause an energy crash soon after eating. That crash makes you feel tired, foggy, irritable, and craving more carbs. It's a vicious cycle, and your brain pays the price. You might start noticing small things: difficulty concentrating, forgetting appointments, struggling to find the right words. And you may not connect it to your food, but your brain does. So what can you do? The answer isn't to cut carbs entirely, it's to choose the right ones. Swap white bread for whole grain or sprouted grain breads. Choose steel-cut oats instead of instant packets. Enjoy quinoa, brown rice, or sweet potatoes instead of white rice and pasta. And make sure each meal includes fiber, protein, and healthy fats that slows digestion and protects your brain from sugar surges. You don't have to give up comfort food, you just need to upgrade it so your brain stays sharp, balanced, and well-nourished. They promise fewer calories, they say they're diabetic-friendly, but for your brain, artificial sweeteners may be more harmful than helpful. Let's talk about aspartame, sucralose, and saccharin, three of the most common chemical sweeteners found in sugar-free products. You'll see them in diet sodas, chewing gum, sugar-free yogurt, protein bars, and even medications. But here's what most people don't realize. These compounds can disrupt brain chemistry and may increase the risk of cognitive decline over time. Let's start with aspartame. When it breaks down in the body, it produces a chemical called phenylalanine, which can cross the blood-brain barrier and interfere with neurotransmitters. Some studies suggest that high levels of phenylalanine can alter serotonin and dopamine balance, leading to mood swings, anxiety, irritability, and even memory problems. Next, let's look at sucralose. While it doesn't contain calories, research shows that sucralose may change the gut microbiome, reducing beneficial bacteria. And since your gut and brain are deeply connected, this disruption can affect mental clarity, energy, and focus. Then there's saccharin, one of the oldest artificial sweeteners. Although approved by regulatory bodies, long-term use has been linked to metabolic stress and brain inflammation in several animal studies. But perhaps the biggest concern is how these sweeteners confuse the brain. They taste sweet, but deliver no real energy. Over time, the brain may become less sensitive to sweetness, causing cravings for more food and more confusion in appetite regulation. And for older adults trying to manage weight or blood sugar, this can backfire badly. So what's the alternative? If you want something sweet, choose options that respect your brain. Use real fruit, like mashed banana, dates, or berries, to sweeten oatmeals, smoothies, or baked goods. And most importantly, retrain your taste buds. The less you use artificial sweetness, the more your body will learn to enjoy real, whole flavors. Because your brain isn't fooled by fake food, it remembers everything. Even the chemicals we pretend are harmless. In a glass of wine here, a cocktail there. For many people, alcohol is part of social life, even tradition. But when it comes to your brain, alcohol is not as harmless as it seems. Let's be clear, small amounts of alcohol may not cause immediate harm, but frequent or heavy drinking, that's a different story, especially for an aging brain. Alcohol is a neurotoxin. That means it can damage or kill brain cells directly. It shrinks brain tissue, reduces white matter, and impairs the way neurons communicate. Even moderate alcohol use over time has been linked to smaller hippocampal volume, the area of the brain responsible for memory and learning. It also disrupts sleep quality, lowers B vitamin levels, like B1 and B12, and triggers inflammation in the brain. All of these are known contributors to cognitive decline. But that's just the beginning. Alcohol also interferes with the gut-brain axis. It damages the gut lining, allowing toxins to leak into the bloodstream and reach the brain, a process called leaky gut. This can increase the risk of neuroinflammation, brain fog, and long-term degeneration. What's more, alcohol impairs executive function, your judgment, your decision-making, your ability to plan, adapt, and control impulses. Over time, those slips add up, not just socially, but neurologically. Now, here's where it gets complicated. Many older adults turn to alcohol to relax, sleep, or ease loneliness. But in the long run, alcohol can increase anxiety, disrupt mood, and worsen depression, especially in the brain that's already vulnerable to dementia. So what's the solution? If you drink occasionally and feel well, that's your choice. But if drinking is a daily habit, if you notice memory slips, sleep trouble, or mood changes, consider cutting back. Try herbal teas in the evening, sparkling water with lemon or mint at social gatherings, or simply take nights off. Your brain will thank you. Because alcohol doesn't just affect the night you drink, it affects how your brain works for days, weeks, even years after. And protecting your brain is worth far more than a happy hour. It's in soups, chips, canned vegetables, instant noodles, even some restaurant dishes. We're talking about MSG, short for monosodium glutamate. It's a flavor enhancer, a way to make food taste richer, more savory, more addictive. And while it adds flavor, it may also harm your brain. MSG is a form of glutamate, a naturally occurring amino acid that also acts as a neurotransmitter in the brain. In small, controlled amounts, glutamate helps neurons communicate. But in excess, it overstimulates them. That's where the danger comes in. Too much MSG can act like an excitotoxin, a substance that overstimulates brain cells to the point of damage or death. This process is called excitotoxicity, and it's been studied in relation to neurodegenerative diseases, including Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Some people are especially sensitive. After eating MSG, they may feel headaches, brain fog, fatigue, or a strange sense of pressure. Others may not feel symptoms immediately, but over time, the constant overstimulation takes its toll. Research has also linked high MSG consumption with increased oxidative stress, inflammation, and neuronal cell death in animal models. And while more human studies are needed, early data is concerning, especially for aging brains already vulnerable to damage. Another issue, MSG can interfere with your brain's natural satiety signals. That means you eat more than you need, not because you're hungry, but because your brain's been tricked. Over time, this can lead to weight gain, insulin resistance, and cognitive fatigue. So how do you avoid it? Start with the ingredient label. Look out for monosodium glutamate, but also hidden forms like hydrolyzed protein, autolyzed yeast, yeast extract, flavoring, or E621. Choose fresh or frozen vegetables instead of canned. Use herbs, spices, garlic, and sea salt to flavor food instead of pre-med seasoning packets. And when dining out, don't hesitate to ask, do you use MSG in your cooking? Because what enhances flavor in the short term can diminish brain health in the long term. And your clarity, your memory, your peace of mind are worth protecting. They're convenient, they're tasty, and they become a staple in many households, especially for quick breakfasts or easy sandwiches. But processed meats like bacon, sausages, ham, hot dogs, and deli slices may be quietly harming your brain. Here's what you need to know. Processed meats are typically preserved with nitrites and nitrates, chemicals used to prevent bacterial growth and extend shelf life. While effective for storage, these compounds can convert into nitrosamines in the body, substances linked to oxidative stress and neurodegeneration. That means more inflammation in the brain, more damage to neurons, and a higher risk of diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. But the damage doesn't stop there. These meats are also high in saturated fats and sodium, which contribute to high blood pressure, poor circulation, and chronic inflammation, all of which impair brain function over time. Studies have shown that people who consume high amounts of processed meats have smaller brain volume, slower cognitive response, and are more likely to experience early memory loss. What's more, processed meats are often combined with refined bread and sugary condiments, creating a perfect storm of brain-aging ingredients in one meal. So what can you do? You don't have to give up all meat, but you can choose better versions. Instead of deli meats, try slicing roast chicken, grass-fed beef, or wild-caught fish you cook at home. Replace bacon with avocado, eggs, or nuts for healthy fat and flavor. And explore plant-based protein options like lentils, chickpeas, or hummus for variety. When you do eat meat, choose minimally processed, nitrate-free organic options whenever possible. Because your brain doesn't care how convenient something is, it cares how nourishing it is. And what you eat today shapes how clearly you think tomorrow. They're labeled as heart-healthy. They're in almost every packaged food, salad dressing, and restaurant meal. But what most people don't realize is how highly processed vegetable oils may quietly be harming their brain. Let's talk about soybean oil, corn oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, and others like them. These oils are extracted through industrial processes using high heat, pressure, and chemical solvents like hexane. To make them shelf-stable, they're also bleached, deodorized, and refined. But all of that processing changes the oil's structure, making it unstable and highly prone to oxidation. And when oxidized fats enter your body, they trigger inflammation at the cellular level, including in your brain. These oils are also very high in omega-6 fatty acids. Now, omega-6s aren't inherently bad. Your body needs them in small amounts. But the modern diet has created a huge imbalance. Most people today consume 20 to 50 times more omega-6s than omega-3s, a ratio that promotes chronic inflammation, the foundation of many degenerative diseases, including dementia. In fact, studies have linked high omega-6 intake with increased risk of cognitive impairment, depression, and Alzheimer's. Another issue? When these oils are heated, like during frying, they produce toxic byproducts called aldehydes. These compounds are known to damage brain cells, impair memory, and increase oxidative stress. And yet, we use these oils every day. They're in crackers, chips, margarine, frozen meals, mayonnaise, even health bars. So what can you do? Start replacing these oils with natural, cold-pressed fats that support brain health. Use extra virgin olive oil for salads and low-heat cooking. Choose avocado oil or coconut oil for higher temperatures. Enjoy whole food fats from nuts, seeds, olives, and fatty fish, rich in omega-3s that protect the brain. And whenever possible, cook from scratch so you know exactly what's going into your meals. Because while your body may tolerate bad oils for a while, your brain remembers everything, even the oils it can't process. We don't usually think of metal when we think of food, but there's one metal that may be silently making its way into your meals and your brain: aluminum. Aluminum is a naturally occurring element. It's used in cookware, foil, baking powder, processed cheese, and even some medications and food colorings. The problem? Your body has a hard time getting rid of it, especially your brain. Over time, aluminum can accumulate in neuronal tissue. And while the science is still evolving, many studies have linked high levels of aluminum to neurotoxicity, including damage to memory centers like the hippocampus. Some researchers have even found elevated levels of aluminum in the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease. So where does aluminum in food come from? One common source is processed cheese, especially the kind that melts smoothly and doesn't spoil easily. Another hidden source is baking powder, particularly the double-acting kind, which may contain sodium aluminum sulfate. And let's not forget aluminum foil, used to wrap leftovers or cook foods at high temperatures. When foil is exposed to acid, like lemon or tomato or high heat, aluminum can leach into the food. You won't taste it, you won't feel it, but your brain will absorb it and may hold on to it for decades. So what can you do? Start by choosing aluminum-free baking powder. It's clearly labeled and easy to find. Limit or avoid processed cheese, especially the slices that come in plastic wrappers. Use parchment paper instead of foil when baking, especially with acidic ingredients. And store food in glass containers whenever possible. Also, check your antacids or medications. Some contain aluminum compounds. Talk to your doctor about safer alternatives if needed. Because even small exposures, repeated daily, can build up over time, and your brain's long-term health deserves more than silent accumulation. They make food look prettier, last longer, taste stronger, but what they add inconvenience, they may take away from your brain. We're talking about synthetic food additives, artificial colors, chemical preservatives, flavor enhancers. These ingredients are everywhere, in candy, sodas, cereals, frozen meals, chips, boxed snacks, and even vitamins. Let's start with artificial colors like red 40, yellow 5, and blue 1. These dyes are made from petroleum derivatives and have been shown to affect behavior, attention, and cognition, especially in children. But they may also contribute to oxidative stress in the brain, damaging neurons and weakening memory over time. Next, look at preservatives like BHA, butylated hydroxyanisole, and BHT, butylated hydroxytoluene. These are added to prevent spoilage and extend shelf life. But they're also classified as potential neurotoxins and endocrine disruptors, and some studies have linked them to cellular damage in brain tissue. Then we have flavor enhancers like disodium inosonate, disodium guanylate, and even hidden forms of MSG. They overstimulate taste receptors and may also disrupt neurotransmitter balance, making it harder for your brain to regulate itself. Even in small amounts when consumed daily, these additives create a low-grade, constant inflammatory state in the body and the brain. But that inflammation doesn't always show up right away, but over the years, it builds up, and what starts as brain fog can grow into something harder to reverse. So how do you avoid them? Start by reading ingredient lists, not just the nutrition facts. Look for products labeled no artificial colors or preservatives. Choose whole foods as often as possible, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and simple grains. And when you buy packaged foods, stick to brands that use natural ingredients like turmeric, beet juice, or paprika for color, and sea salt or vinegar for preservation. Because your brain is not a laboratory, it's not built to process artificial chemicals day after day, year after year. What it needs is real food, clean fuel, and time to heal. So now you see them, the 10 most common foods that can quietly hurt your brain. Sugar, trans fats, refined carbs, artificial sweeteners, alcohol, MSG, processed meats, vegetable oils, aluminum-laced items, and chemical additives. Individually, they may not seem like much, but together, consumed day after day, meal after meal, they add up. They inflame, they confuse, they slowly chip away at the one thing that makes you you, your memory, your clarity, your peace of mind. But here's the good news. Your brain is resilient. It can heal, and it starts with what you choose to eat. Here are 7 simple, powerful dietary shifts that can help protect your brain and even reverse some early damage. Eat more omega-3 rich fats from wild-caught fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel, or from walnuts, chia seeds, and flax. Use anti-inflammatory oils like extra virgin olive oil and avocado oil in your cooking. Fill half your plate with colorful vegetables, especially leafy greens, broccoli, and beets, rich in antioxidants that fight oxidative stress. Choose real whole grains like oats, quinoa, and buckwheat, and pair them with protein and healthy fats to stabilize blood sugar. Snack smarter. Reach for berries, dark chocolate, almonds, or hard-boiled eggs instead of processed chips or cookies. Limit alcohol and replace nightly drinks with calming herbal teas or sparkling water infused with citrus or mint. Hydrate your brain. Drink enough clean, mineral-rich water to help flush toxins and support mental clarity. And most importantly, read labels. The fewer ingredients, the better. If it's full of words you can't pronounce, your brain probably doesn't want. The workouts may be short. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being aware, one better choice, one better habit, one better day at a time. Because the most important memory you can protect is the one you haven't made yet. Thank you for staying with us through this journey. You've taken the time to understand what's really happening inside your brain and, more importantly, what you can do about it. Knowledge is power, but action is healing. So if today's video helped you, if even one food on this list made you pause and think, then consider sharing this with someone you care about. Because protecting brain health isn't just personal, it's something we can do together. And if you'd like more simple, science-backed ways to stay sharp, sleep better, and support your health after 60, please subscribe to Senior Health Live. We're here to walk with you, one step at a time. Your brain is still listening, your future is still unfolding, and you are not too late to make it brighter. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.